Hello everyone, welcome to the Stalwart Initiative, and we're back for another look at Tasha's Cauldron of everything. This time we're going to be taking a look at all the fighter options in the book, and let's just get right into it. So as far as the optional class features that we'll get with the fighter, first up we'll get at level 1, we'll get new fighting style options. And when you choose a fighting style at level 1 as a fighter, these options are available to you. First up we have blind fighting. You have blind sight within a range of 10 feet. Within that range, you can effectively see anything that isn't behind total cover, even if you're blinded or in darkness. Moreover, you can see an invisible creature within that range unless the creature successfully hides from you. This can be very useful, very, very useful, and especially if you're fighting invisible creatures or if you're just trying to find your way through something in total darkness. Or if you're blinded, I mean, as it states, it can be very useful. In other situations, it's not so much. You know, when it's broad daylight out and you're in the middle of a normal battle with all conditions equal for both parties, you're not going to get much use out of this, but you can in others, especially if you don't have dark vision that can really damper you in certain situations. And this can help. If you can get in close, this can help. Next up, we have interception. When a creature you can see hits a target other than you within 5 feet of you with an attack, you can use your reaction to reduce the damage the target takes by 1d10 plus your proficiency bonus, minimum of 0 damage. And you must be wielding a shield or a simple or martial weapon to use this reaction. This interception is great. It's great at early levels, though it doesn't scale very well. That d10 doesn't gain any momentum as you level up throughout the game, and your proficiency bonus is a slow scaling bonus when it comes to amount of damage. Interception, I would say, would be a good fighting style to have early on at level 1 or earlier levels, but since we're going to be able to, at level 4, starting at level 4, we get this martial versatility, which allows us to switch fighting styles. I'd probably recommend switching this style out when you get to a higher level, and that d10 plus your proficiency bonus really isn't that much damage, unless you don't really have any other options for your to use your reaction other than opportunity attacks. That's fine, but it's very little damage when you get to higher levels comparatively. Next up we have superior technique. You learn one maneuver of your choice from among those available to the Battlemaster archetype. If a maneuver you use requires your target to make a saving throw to resist the maneuver's effects, the saving throw DC equals 8 plus your proficiency bonus, plus your strength or dexterity modifier, your choice. You gain one superiority die, which is a D6. This die is added to any superiority dice you have from another source. This die is used to fuel your maneuvers. A superiority die is expended when you use it, and you regain your expended superiority die when you finish a short or long rest. Tasha's has really upped the value of the Battlemaster fighter. New maneuvers, fighting style ways such as the superior technique that you can gain more dice to use for your maneuvers. This is Battlemaster is really powerful right now, and this is a way to get a taste of that because of the versatility the Battlemaster offers. This is great. And them allowing you to pick strength or dexterity is also great if you're going for a dex-based fighter. Very cool. Recharge on a short rest, which is important. Next up, we have thrown weapon fighting. You can draw a weapon that has the thrown property as part of the attack you make with the weapon. In addition, when you hit with a ranged attack using a thrown weapon, you gain +2 bonus to the damage roll. Good, awesome. Making throwing like your javelins or daggers or whatever, making that more viable of an option other than just being the small amount of damage that they normally offer. And yeah, making it part of the attack action is nice, so you're not having to use your free action to draw out, and you can only draw one, etc., etc. Next up we have unarmed fighting. Your unarmed strikes can deal bludgeoning damage equal to 1d6 plus your strength modifier on a hit. If you aren't wielding any weapons or a shield when you make the attack roll, the d6 becomes a d8. At the start of each of your turns, you can deal 1d4 bludgeoning damage to one creature grappled by you. Wow, this fighting style totally ups anybody's expectations for a grappler build. I can envision this mixed with mixed with a barbarian, even a level 1 dip into barbarian. This is going to make one heck of a grappler, and not just grappler, but unarmed fighter to begin with. Is bumping it from 1 plus your strength mod to 1d6 plus your strength mod, and you can still wield a shield or hold a weapon in another hand. And then if you decide to forego the shield or weapon, you're bumping up to a d8. You're essentially using a rapier at that point, worth of damage. So very cool, and allowing you to do damage while you have someone grappled, still adding to that DPS and doing some battlefield control by grappling. Very cool, very much needed fighting style. I like it. So at level 4, you get martial versatility, which I mentioned earlier. Whenever you reach a level in this class that grants the ability score improvement feature, you can do one of the following as you shift the focus of your martial practice. Replace a fighting style you know with another fighting style available to fighters. And if you know any maneuvers from the Battlemaster archetype, you can replace one maneuver you know with a different maneuver. This is also nice because depending on your situation, the known enemies you're going to be fighting, and also some of the features and maneuvers scaling a little better than others. I think this is a great option to give fighters in general. Very cool. Speaking of maneuvers and Battlemaster fighters and all that jazz, we get new maneuver options in this book. If you have access to maneuvers, and this could be with the fighter or any other future or current subclasses that would give you maneuvers or class features. These maneuvers are added to that list of options available to you. Maneuvers are available to battle masters, but also to characters who have a special feature like the superior technique fighting style or martial adept feat. First up, we get ambush. When you make a stealth check or an initiative roll, you can expend 1 superiority die and add the die to the roll, provided you aren't incapacitated. This could be really good for fighters who really want to get into the action first. You want to start the fight in your favor or get up in the mix of things so that your backline casters or your just weaker allies in general have a chance to react to what you're doing and what the enemy is doing when you run up in their face. And this could be great. As far as stealth checks as well, especially since a lot of fighters wear heavy armor, this will help offset that disadvantage that your heavy armor is going to give you on stealth checks. This can help make it more bearable or even save you completely from being detected. Very cool. Next up, we have bait and switch. When you're within 5 feet of a creature on your turn, you can expend 1 superiority die to switch places with that creature, provided you spend at least 5 feet of movement and the creature is willing and isn't incapacitated. This movement doesn't provoke opportunity attacks. Roll the superiority die, and until the start of your next turn, you or the other creature, your choice, gains a bonus to AC equal to the number rolled. Wow, just the bonus to AC alone is pretty sweet. It's pretty sweet, especially especially when you're using higher amounts of the of your superiority die. Blah, blah. So that's really cool. This could be very useful. You can get an ally out of danger, so get them away from an enemy without them having to use their action to disengage so that they don't receive that opportunity attack. And not only that, but you can give them a boost on their AC as well as yourself. If you plan on being there and they're relatively safe now that you've switched spots with them, then you can give the boost to yourself as well, and that boost can be quite substantial, especially if you already have a high AC as a fighter. Yeah, pretty brutal. I like it. Next up, we have brace. When a creature you can see moves into the reach you have with the melee weapon you're wielding, you can use your reaction to expend 1 superiority die and make 1 attack against the creature using that weapon. If the attack hits, add the superiority die to the weapon's damage roll. This is really cool. It is allowing you to do a like a polearm master type move, and it's very cool because you can add the damage, you can hit them when they come into your range. Very nice, very nice. And it does say within your reach, so if you're using a polearm or something or have means of having a reach farther than 5 feet, you can also take advantage of that as well. So very cool, very cool. Next up is commanding presence. When you make an intimidation, performance, or persuasion check, you can expend 1 superiority die and add the superiority die to the ability check. I think this is a fantastic way to use these maneuvers. This is allowing a fighter, sometimes considered a rather bland class when it comes to, because they don't get a whole lot of skills and tool proficiencies and stuff that some of the other classes do. If you want to be a fighter that is the face of the group, if you want to be a fighter that just likes to deal with people in general or has to deal with people in general, this could help you in a lot of those social situations that fighters typically don't have, they don't spec into, or they don't have features that help out with that. So commanding presence, very nice, very nice. Next up we have Grappling Strike. Immediately after you hit a creature with a melee attack on your turn, you can expend 1 superiority die and then try to grapple the target as a bonus action. And then it tells you, refers to the grappling rules. Add the superiority die to your strength or your athletics check. This is cool. This is a way to help get the grapple easier. Earlier we touched on adding damage to grapple creatures. This is a way to grapple them and get your attack off, because normally you have to use one of your attacks from your attack action to grapple someone. This is allowing you to do that, to try to grapple them as a bonus action when you attack them. So very cool. Next up is Quick Toss. As a bonus action, you can expend 1 superiority die and make a ranged attack with a weapon that has the thrown property. You can draw the weapon as part of making this attack. If you hit, add the superiority die to the weapon's damage roll. Another way to make thrown weapons more viable and add damage to them, because they're typically lower damage weapons. Yeah, very cool. Very cool. Next up is Tactical Assessment. When you make an investigation, history, or insight check, you can expend 1 superiority die and add the superiority die to the ability check. Much like the, Commanding Presence. Much like the Commanding Presence, this will allow you to step outside the fighter's pigeonholed combat specs and enable you to make investigation, history, or insight checks. This is especially useful. Investigation comes up quite a bit, at least in my campaigns, and insight is great if you're trying to discern motives of enemies or suspects or whatever have you. So very nice, very nice. So those are our optional class features for the fighter. Let's move on to our 2 new martial archetypes, or subclasses, for the fighter. The first is the Psi Warrior. Awake to the psionic power within. A Psi Warrior is a fighter who augments their physical might with psi-infused weapon strikes, telekinetic lashes, and barriers of mental force. Many Githyanki train to become such warriors, as do some. Okay, here we go. I thought it was as doing so. As do some of the most disciplined high elves. In the world of Eberron, many young Kalishtar dream of becoming Psi Warriors. As a Psi Warrior, you might have honed your psionic abilities through solo discipline, unlocked it under the tutelage of a master, or refined it at an academy dedicated to wielding the mind's power as both weapon and shield. I like the theme of the Psi Warrior. It's very, as a lot of people akin it to a Jedi. I think it fits that as well. I do like it as theme, but let's take a look at the features before we get too excited here. At 3rd level, you gain psionic power. You harbor a wellspring of psionic energy within yourself. This energy is represented by your psionic energy dice, which are each a d6. You have a number of these dice equal to twice your proficiency bonus, and they fuel various psionic powers you have, which are detailed below. The fact that your pool is twice your proficiency bonus is good, because this will give you a very nice scaling amount. So your proficiency bonus is 2. When you get this, you only have 2, but that gives you 4 psionic energy dice, and that will scale the whole way up to 12 psionic energy dice. Pretty cool. Some of your powers expend the psionic energy die they use, as specified in a power's description. And you can't use a power if it requires you to use a die when your dice are all expended. You regain all of your expended psionic energy dice when you finish a long rest. In addition, as a bonus action, you can regain 1 expended psionic energy die, but you can't do so again until you finish a short or long rest. So this pool of dice resets on a long rest, except for on a short rest, you can use your bonus action to gain 1 of those dice back. And when you reach certain levels in this class, the size of your psionic energy die increases. At 5th level, which is only 2 levels after you get the feature, at 5th level goes to a D8, and then a D10, and then a D12. Those are some pretty big numbers. Pretty big numbers. I like the scaling of this already. The powers below use your psionic energy dice, and these are the 3 powers you get at level 3 when you gain the feature. First up is Protective Field. When you or another creature you can see within 30 feet of you takes damage, you can use your reaction to expend 1 psionic energy die, roll the die, and reduce the damage taken by the number rolled plus your intelligence modifier, minimum reduction of 1, and as you create a momentary shield of telekinetic force. This is good. At first, it's not going to be as effective as the Interception or Interceptor. I think it's Interception, the new fighting style that we went over earlier. The Interception fighting style gives you a D10 plus your proficiency bonus. So this isn't as effective to start off with. I mean, it's effective in the fact that it gives you 30 feet, where the other one required them to be right next to you. So this is good. It's a lot of versatility as far as your range and being able to do this, but only a D6 is not a whole lot of reduction, and your intelligence modifier at 3rd level is probably not very high. You're probably going to spec into strength or dex as your main fighting, hopefully some constitution in there to keep you alive, and throw some into your intelligence, which is important for the Psi fighter because of your subclass features. But yeah, it's probably not very high, 2 or 3 at the beginning, so you're not fending off a whole lot of damage, but it will scale as your psionic energy dice scale a little better as well. Next up, we have Psionic Strike. You can propel your weapons with psionic force once on each of your turns, immediately after you hit a target within 30 feet of you with an attack, and deal damage to it with a weapon. You can expend 1 psionic energy die, rolling it, and dealing force damage to the target equal to the number rolled plus your intelligence modifier. Another reason to put some ability score improvement points into your intelligence modifier, because this one especially, the Psionic Strike, you're going to be using your psionic energy die more than likely for this quite often to boost up your damage output. But you also get additional features to this later on, which we'll discuss when we get there. So your third option at 3rd level is telekinetic movement. You can move an object or a creature with your mind. As an action, you target 1 loose object that is large or smaller, or 1 willing creature other than yourself. If you can see the target and it is within 30 feet of you, you can move it up to 30 feet to an unoccupied space you can see. Alternatively, if it is a tiny object, you can move it to or from your hand. Either way, you can move the target horizontally, vertically, or both. Once you take this action, you can't do so again until you finish a short or long rest, unless you expend a psionic energy die to take it again. This is cool, and this brings up a very good point about the subclass, is that these aren't like sorcery points. You don't, or some other features that allow you or require you to expend multiple points to use certain features on a scaling thing. This is 1 point per use of all features. So that is really, really cool, considering your pool gets very large. 12 points. That means 12 uses of this die per, up to 12 uses of this die per long rest. Very cool. And well, 13 actually, because you can recharge the one. Whatever. This is very cool. They give you 1 free use of the telekinetic movement per short rest. Finish a short, yeah. Poor short rest. And yeah, and then you can use your dice after that. I think it's really cool. Very cool. You can't throw enemies around with this one yet. That's a later thing. But it is a way to move allies out of danger. And as far as I'm aware, you can move your allies around and they won't receive opportunity attacks because they're not under their own locomotion. They're not moving out. Something is moving them out of attack range. So that should make them immune to opportunity attacks. If someone else sees otherwise, let me know. But I'm pretty sure that's how I've always read it and how I've always done it. So you can move your allies around, move objects around. If you're in a jail cell, you see the keys, you float the keys to you because they're tiny. So you float the keys to you. All kinds of great uses, RP uses for this. So yay. Not a whole lot going on at 3rd level. I mean, there is, because we have this new pool. We only have like 3 options to use it, but it's still pretty solid start. At 7th level, we get Telekinetic Adept. You have mastered new ways to use your telekinetic abilities, detailed below. First up, we have Psi-Powered Leap, and as a bonus action, you can propel your body with your mind. You gain a flying speed equal to twice your walking speed until the end of the current turn. Once you take this bonus action, you can't do so again until you finish a short or long rest, unless you expend 1 psionic energy die to take it again. This is a free fly, a free dash speed, a double speed fly once per short rest, and then you can use 1 psionic energy die to do it beyond that. And wow, yeah, that's really nice. And I was a little disappointed up here with telekinetic movement that you can't move yourself, but I'm willing to give that trade-off to get a like 60-foot average of 60-foot fly speed for free once per short rest, and you can use your psionic energy die to do it even more times. Very cool. I think 7th level is really where we start to pop off with this with a Psi Warrior. Next up, we have Telekinetic Thrust. When you deal damage to a target with your psionic strike, you can force the target to make a strength saving throw against a DC equal to 8 plus your proficiency bonus plus your intelligence modifier. Another reason for intelligence there. If the save fails, you can knock the target prone or move it up to 10 feet in any direction horizontally. This is really cool, as battlefield control is always good, especially as a fighter where you sometimes need to be pretty particular on where you want people so that you can help, do your function of either tanking or just doing the battlefield control so others can take advantage. This is very nice. So this is very important that we have the intelligence modifier here so that they're failing the saves and you're knocking them down, or you're moving them around, moving them away from allies, moving them toward allies, pushing them over a cliff. There's lots of things that you can do with that telekinetic thrust. This is where 7th level is where the Psi Warrior really, I think it comes into its own there. At 10th level, we get our kind of passive, a lot of ribbon ability type thing, but don't worry, it's also very effective. So next up, we have Guarded Mind. The psionic energy flowing through you has bolstered your mind. You have resistance to psychic damage, which in later levels can be very effective. Moreover, if you start your turn charmed or frightened, you can expend a psionic energy die and every effect on yourself subjecting you to those conditions. And every effect on yourself subjecting you to those conditions. So that's very cool. Having resistance to psychic damage, can truly help you out in certain, especially certain campaigns that are oriented around that stuff. And being able to end charmed, just being frightened is brutal, but charmed can be superly brutal. Being able to end that with just a use of 1 psionic energy die is very cool, very powerful. And at 15th level, you get Bulwark of Force. You can shield yourself and others with telekinetic force. As a bonus action, you can choose creatures, which can include you, that you can see within 30 feet of you, up to a number of creatures equal to your intelligence modifier, with a minimum of 1 creature. Each of the chosen creatures is protected by half cover for 1 minute or until you're incapacitated. Once you take this bonus action, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest, unless you expend a psionic energy die to take it again. 1 free use per long rest. Half cover is very nice to have. Let's take a look. I like to keep this quick reference here, and let's take a look at half cover because I don't want to give you the wrong. There we go, half cover. Okay. So for half cover, the obstacle target has +2 to the AC and dexterity saving throws. If the target is behind multiple sources of cover, only the most protective degree of cover applies. So yeah, +2 to AC and dex saves is very cool. Very nice. And you're giving that to all creatures you choose up to your intelligence modifier. Another reason for putting some points into that. Very nice. And let's see here. Next, at our capstone ability, we have Telekinetic Master. Your ability to move creatures and objects with your mind is matched by few. You can cast the telekinesis spell, requiring no components, and your spellcasting ability for the spell is intelligence. On each of your turns, while you concentrate on the spell, including the turn when you cast it, you can make 1 attack with a weapon as a bonus action. Once you cast the spell with this feature, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest, unless you expend a psionic energy die to cast it again. This is 18th level. You have maxed out on, you're maxed out on your psionic energy die. So you have a large die size, you have a large pool of dice. You can do this over and over again. And the fact that they give you an attack with your bonus action is nice, especially when you can fuel that attack with, let's scroll up here, Psionic Strike. See, once on each of your turns, immediately after you hit a target within 30 feet of you, the attack deals weapon. So you can do this. You can add damage with your Psionic Strike, which means you can also use the telekinetic thrust feature of that. Very nice, very nice. I think that is a pretty good capstone. Having a free use of telekinesis is nice. Not that grand for an 18th level ability, but you get a free use of it, and you can use any of your numerous psionic energy dice to keep using telekinesis, and also get a free attack with your bonus action each time you do so. I like that as a capstone. It hits that sweet spot of pretty balanced to me. Okay, let me know what you think about the Psi Warrior, and let's move on to our last subclass option, the Rune Knight. Oh, really like the Rune Knight. So Rune Knights enhance their martial prowess using the supernatural power of runes, an ancient practice that originated with giants. Rune cutters can be found among any family of giants, and you likely learned your methods first or secondhand from such a mystical artisan. Whether you found the giant's work carved into a hill or cave, learned of the runes from a sage, or met the giant in person, you studied the giant's craft and learned how to apply magic runes to empower your equipment. First up at 3rd level, and we get 3 features here. Do we get 3 features? Rune carver. I think we get 3. Yeah. This is very front loaded. So if you're debating on if you're going to stay at a lower level for whatever campaign or adventure you're on, this is a very front-loaded fighter and pretty useful at lower levels. So first up at 3rd level, we get bonus proficiencies. You gain proficiency with smith's tools, and you learn to speak, read, and write giant. Next up, we get, which is nice by the way, a new language and a tool proficiency. Nice little flavor to have. I like to see that passive gain that you get in an earlier level. Next up, we have Rune Carver. You can use magic runes to enhance your gear. You learn 2 runes of your choice from among the runes described below, and each time you gain a level in this class, you can replace one rune you know with a different one from this feature. When you reach certain levels in the class, you can learn additional runes as shown in the runes known table. So you start out knowing 2 at 3rd level, then you learn 3 at 7th level, 4 at 10th level, and 5 at 15th level. There are 6 runes total, so by 15th level you will know all but 1 rune. And let's take a look. Whenever you finish a long rest, you can touch a number of objects equal to the number of runes you know. You inscribe a different rune on each of the objects. To be eligible, an object must be a weapon, a suit of armor, a shield, a piece of jewelry, or something else you can wear or hold in hand. Your rune remains on an object until you finish a long rest, and an object can bear only one of your runes at a time. The following runes are available to you when you learn a rune. If a rune has a level requirement, you must be at least that level in this class to learn the rune. If a rune requires a saving throw, your rune magic save is 8 plus your proficiency bonus plus your constitution modifier. That makes sense. Giant's hardy. I like it. I think it was something different in playtest. I don't remember exactly what ability score modifier it was, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't constitution because I was a little puzzled about that. Next up we have, let's go over the different runes that you can get. First up is Cloud Rune. This rune emulates the deceptive magic used by some cloud giants. While wearing or carrying an object inscribed with this rune, you have advantage on sleight of hand checks and deception checks. Very nice passive. Wow, that is a very nice passive ability, allowing you to be sneaky and also deceptive. Very cool. In addition, oh yeah, by the way, I should mention that each of these runes has sort of a passive ability and an active ability. So that's the passive ability. That's always on. Very cool for the Cloud Rune. For the active ability for the Cloud Rune, it says, in addition, when you or a creature you can see within 30 feet of you is hit by an attack roll, you can use your reaction to invoke the rune and choose a different creature within 30 feet of you other than the attacker. The chosen creature becomes the target of the attack and using the same roll. This magic can transfer the attack's effects regardless of the attack's range. Once you invoke this rune, you can't do so again until you finish a short or long rest. Whoo! Boy, this could hurt. So even if you don't have, even if your allies or your, or yourself don't have a whole lot of oomph with your physical attacks, if an enemy, especially a big bad, is attacking you, and you can make them attack one of their allies, one of their minions, oh, this could be so useful. So useful. Very cool. So I like the Cloud Rune. And it recharges on a short or long rest rather than just a long rest. I like it. Next up, we have the Fire Rune. This rune's magic channels the masterful craftsmanship of great smiths. While you're wearing or carrying an object inscribed with this rune, your proficiency bonus is doubled for any ability check you make that uses your proficiency with a tool. So this gives you expertise in any tool that you're proficient with, which is very nice. It's not making you use the smiths, not limiting you to the smith's tools that are given with this subclass. It is any tool proficiency. So if you have multi-classed into something like an artificer, or just have tool proficiencies based on your background or whatever reason, this will give you expertise in all of those. Very nice, very useful. In addition, when you hit a creature with an attack using a weapon, you can invoke the rune to summon fiery shackles. The target takes an additional 2d6 fire damage, and it must succeed on a strength saving throw or be restrained for 1 minute. While restrained by the shackles, the target takes 2d6 fire damage at the start of each of its turns. The target can repeat the saving throw at the end of each of its turns, banishing the shackles on a success. Once you invoke this rune, you can't do so again until you finish a short or long rest. Woo! Dealing some fire damage, restraining your target, and repeatable fire damage. This is very useful, very useful. So you're getting out consistent damage, and restraining is locking down an enemy can be crucial in combat. Fire rune, thumbs up. Bleh. English. Okay, next up we have Frost Rune. This rune's magic evokes the might of those who survive in the wintry wilderness, such as frost giants. While wearing or carrying an object inscribed with this rune, you have advantage on animal handling checks and intimidation checks. As far as the passive bonuses go, this is my least favorite. I know it can come in useful, especially intimidation. Animal handling is nice to have. Don't get me wrong, it's nice to have, but it's not gonna, in my experience, it's not going to come in as handy as some of the other runes offerings. But let's see what the active is. In addition, you can invoke the rune as a bonus action to increase your sturdiness. For 10 minutes, you gain a +2 bonus on all ability checks and saving throws that use strength or constitution. Once you invoke this rune, you can't do so again until you finish a short or long rest. Again, even with the active ability, +2 to all ability checks and saving throws, I like it that it's 10 minutes. So that indicates that they really want you to be able to use this not only in combat, but also out of combat. I like it, but +2 is meh, especially when it's only strength or con. I would have liked to have seen a +5 on that, or advantage. Even advantage, because it's only strength or con. If it was all +2 would be fine. It would be great. I would maybe knock it down to 1 minute and make it advantage. I would rather have less time and make it more impactful, because this is more time and less impactful. It's okay. It's not like it's bad. It's just compared to the other options, and when you can only start out by picking 2 runes, I just can't see myself picking this one. But we'll see. So next up we have Stone Rune. This rune's magic channels the judiciousness associated with stone giants. While wearing or carrying an object inscribed with this rune, you have advantage on insight checks, and you have dark vision out to a range of 120 feet. Look at these passive. This passive is great. So insight checks, when you're trying to see if someone's telling you the truth, or try to discern other facts from a situation. Insight checks can be good, and it essentially giving you superior dark vision, the 120 feet dark vision that you would see from things like deep gnomes. Very good, already very good passive. Let's see the active. In addition, when a creature you can see ends its turn within 30 feet of you, you can use your reaction to invoke the rune and force the creature to make a wisdom saving throw. Unless the save succeeds, the creature is charmed by you for 1 minute. While charmed in this way, the creature has a speed of 0 and is incapacitated, descending into a dreamy stupor. The creature repeats the saving throw, and at the end of each of its turns, ending the effect on a success. Once you invoke this rune, you can't do so again until you finish a short or long rest. So much more powerful. So much more. A range of 30 feet. You can use your reaction, which means you don't even have to use your action on your turn to do this. If they fail, they're charmed and they're useless. They are useless until they pass that save. It does not say you and your allies going over and pounding on them and attacking them is going to bring them out of that. They are useless until they pass that save. Oh, so powerful, so powerful. Now, granted, if you miss, if they pass the wisdom save, which some enemies do have pretty high wisdom saves, that's a feels bad. But hey, recharges on a short rest. It's very useful. The passive is great. Stone rune, thumbs up. Now our last two runes, the hill and the storm rune, you can't get until you've reached 7th level. Now I mentioned earlier that some require higher levels. These are the only two that require higher levels. So at 7th level, you can pick the hill rune. This rune's magic bestows a resilience reminiscent of a hill giant. While wearing or carrying an object that bears this rune, you have advantage on saving throws against being poisoned, and you have resistance against poison damage. And the active on this is, in addition, you can invoke the rune as a bonus action, gaining resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage for 1 minute. Once you invoke this rune, you can't do so again until you finish a short or long rest. Hill rune. Who would have thought the hill giant, the lowest of the, we'll call them vanilla giants of 5e, the monster manual giants. The lowest of the giants is, it not only requires a level of a 7th level to be able to use, but it's infinitely more useful than the frost giant. I don't get it, but I do get this. This is very good. So if you're not already through race or through some other means resistant to poison damage and have advantage on saving throws, this is great. Wow, poison can come up so often. This is a great passive feature and a bonus action to gain resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage. That is not just from weapons. That is not just non-magical. That is all bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage. Very useful active, super useful passive. Hill rune, fantastic. When I hit 7th level, if I should happen to have the frost rune for some reason, I'm definitely switching it out here. Next up, we have the storm rune. This is our, the storm giant. This is our big thing. So let's just take a look. Using this rune, you can glimpse the future like a storm giant seer. While wearing or carrying an object inscribed with this rune, you have advantage on arcana checks, and you can't be surprised as long as you aren't incapacitated. Oh, I was hoping the passive would be a little more storm giant-y crazy. The arcana checks is nice, and but the real buff right there is you can't be surprised as long as you're incapacitated. That can save you a lot of heartache in a campaign. So okay, I like it. But the active is that you can invoke the rune as a bonus action to enter a prophetic state for 1 minute or until you're incapacitated. Until the state ends, when you or another creature you can see within 60 feet of you makes an attack roll, a saving throw, or an ability check, you can use your reaction to cause the roll to have advantage or disadvantage. Once you invoke this rune, you can't do so until you finish a short or long rest. Woo! That is impressive. That is impressive. So you use a bonus action to get into the state. Not too much of a detriment for a fighter, just one use of your bonus action, and pretty much for an entire fight. It is a 60-foot range, and you can use a reaction every round to give advantage or disadvantage. Wow, super powerful. I like it. And that's only 7th level that you get that, or can get that. Very cool. Very cool. So let's go back to 3rd level Rune Knight, and let's see our last 3rd level feature. Like I said, very front loaded here. At 3rd level, you also get Giant's Might. You've learned how to imbue yourself with the might of giants. As a bonus action, you magically gain the following benefits, which last for 1 minute. If you're smaller than large, you become large, along with anything you're wearing, and if you lack the room to become large, your size doesn't change. This is cool, although I would like to see them have put you can become large. these things where it forces you to, I would like to see can become large, because you can, you can choose not to if you don't have the room. So why not choose not to if you just don't want to become large? You don't want to stick out. Next up, you have advantage on strength checks and strength saving throws. This will be very cool if you're going against barbarians who will be in a rage, and you can help offset your disadvantage there by giving yourself advantage on strength checks and strength saving throws. So this is, Giant's Might is a bit of a mini rage here. Not quite as good, but a mini rage. Next up, you have once on each of your turns, one of your attacks with a weapon or unarmed strike. I'm glad they put unarmed strike. Can deal an additional 1d6 damage to a target on hit. That's nice. A little bit of damage, and I wish it was once on each turn, but it's on your turn alone, and that's okay. 1d6 per turn. Does scale a little bit later on. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. So at 3rd level, when you get this, twice per long rest, you can go into this beefy mini giant form. Okay, it helps. It's nice. It'll last the whole combat too. And next up, we have Runic Shield at 7th level. 7th level is a good level. Good level for this class. So you learn to invoke your rune magic to protect your allies. When another creature you can see within 60 feet of you is hit by an attack roll, you can use a reaction to force the attacker to re-roll the d20 and use the new roll. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus and regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. When you get this at 7th level, that is still the proficiency bonus of 3, so you get this 3 times per long rest. Boy, especially if you have the Storm Giant, or if you pick the Storm Giant with this, a fighter has a use for their reaction all the time, because this is pretty great. Granted, you only have a certain amount of uses, but this is great. So you can save allies left and right, all over the place. Very cool. Runic Shield. Next up, you have Great Stature at 10th level. The magic of your runes permanently alters you. When you gain this feature, roll 3d4. You grow a number of inches in height equal to the roll. Moreover, the extra damage you deal with your Giant's Might feature increases to 1d8. I like the whole ribbon part of this. The 3d4, so you can gain 3 to 12 inches. You grow 3 to 12 inches just naturally because you've been toying with this Giant's runic magic. That's cool. It's cool. You could grow almost a foot, which would be maybe not so noticeable for a mid-sized humanoid, but for a small creature, that is probably pretty noticeable, especially if you're like a halfling and you grow a foot. That's crazy. Very cool. And boosting the damage on your Giant's Might is nice. Bumping it up to a d8. It's not a whole lot, but hey, it helps. At 15th level, you get Master of Runes. You can invoke each rune you know from your Rune Carver feature twice rather than once, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a short or long rest. Twice, each rune twice. Oh, that's beautiful. So at 15th level, what are we up to? Are we up to 4 runes or? Oh no, that's when we reach 5. Awesome. So you have all 5 of your runes. You can do 2 times each. That's 10 uses of your rune magic. That is, oh man, yeah, I'm digging it. I'm totally digging it. So our capstone at 18th level is Runic Juggernaut. You learn how to amplify your rune-powered transformation. As a result, the extra damage you deal with your Giant's Might feature increases to a d10. After we've already increased it to a d8, we're now going up to a d10. Moreover, when you use that feature, your size can increase to huge. Oh, they give you the can in this one. And while you are at that size, your reach increases by 5 feet. I like this feature, though it's a little lackluster as a capstone in my opinion, but increases your damage for your Giant's Might. It increases your size, which is pretty cool in general. You being a huge creature is awesome. And your reach by 5 feet. That's great, even though your reach is only whenever you're using your Giant's Might. That's cool. Having upping your reach, that can have a lot of implications in combat, especially as an 18th level fighter. I think you have 4 attacks at that point. I think you have 4 attacks at 18th level. It's either 3 or 4. And yeah, very cool. Very cool. The rune, is it Rune Knight? I think it's Rune Knight, right? I think we see, yeah, Rune Knight. Forget what it was originally in playtest, but yep, Rune Knight. So let me know what you guys think about these new fighters. I'm very impressed. The new options, especially like fighting styles, maneuvers, and the Rune Knight. I really like the Rune Knight. The Psi Warrior is pretty cool, but I think out of the two, I like the Rune Knight more. Let me know what you think. And yeah, we'll keep going with Tasha's Cauldron stuff. And until next time, unity is strength. So take care of each other. Stay safe. And we'll see you again real soon.